event, but to also thank Ministry that have accepted to be here today. They are setting up tents there. We shall have a number of services that will be delivered to staff. So it's my humble call to you, colleagues, that let us take advantage of the services that we are going to receive. It's a royal printed about such services provided at your doorstep. And to be unfortunate if we left without utilizing the services that will be provided to us. When you go for HIV screening, you pay. There is free at your doorstep. It's important that you know your status. If you want for me to lead the way, I will lead the way. I will be the first on the line. So it's important, but also a number of other services that we provided. So it's important that we know our status, purposes of preventing ourselves, but also preventing other people who are vested in our care. I don't want to say much. Yes, I want to welcome you, provide your opening remarks. Thank you so much.
I'm trying not to enjoy the sun too much. Good morning, everyone. The heads of departments, technical officers, representing government institutions, Ministry of Health, staff, Ministry of Public Service, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming for this health camp. In continuation with our pursuit of the country's vision of a transformed Uganda society from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country within 30 years, we come together today as a ministry to reignite efforts towards the HIV/AIDS pandemic in the workplace. You will note from media reports and other reports that the prevalence rate is going up. Not alarmingly, but anything that damages our lives is alarming enough. And it's mainly in the females. Yes, it is a great honor to speak to you on this day when the Ministry of Public Service is holding a staff wellness event with the theme of re-engaging the leadership in HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis interventions. We know that leadership has been key in the achievements of Uganda, and we have recorded very good rates in tackling the HIV/AIDS pandemic over the years. We appreciate the President and his team in refocusing the HIV/AIDS agenda since 1986. The goal of the wellness camp is to strengthen the institutional capacity of the ministry to address both HIV/AIDS and TB prevention among staff and families through expanded access to comprehensive HIV/AIDS and TB prevention, treatment, care, and support services. This is timely, noting that the current statistics indicate a resurgence. We should therefore not lose the battle. Targeting workplaces is very critical because of the effect of the pandemic on employee performance and productivity, but also because there's a lot of interaction in workplaces. Not desirable, but we need to recognize that it is there, including peer influence. As a Ministry of Public Service, we plan to, one, support the development of HIV/AIDS workplace policy, plans and activities for awareness creation, prevention, mitigation, and care for employees and their families. We intend to increase access and utilization of quality HIV/AIDS and TB prevention, care and treatment services with a focus on identifying HIV-positive individuals and facilitating access to networked care and treatment services. Thirdly, we intend to improve access and use of wrap-around services by employees living with these illnesses through effective partnerships. As part of the implementation of the public sector HIV/AIDS workplace policy, the ministry has today organized this wellness camp. The aim of this health camp is to enable staff based at the ministry headquarters and clients to access a cocktail of HIV/AIDS and health services, which are going to include voluntary HIV counseling and testing, checking of blood pressure, blood sugar, lipid, stroke, blood cholesterol, behavioral change communication and education sessions, stigma and discrimination reduction sessions by Uganda AIDS Commission, who will be our key speakers, experience sharing of employees living with HIV/AIDS, distribution of IEC materials, and condoms. It is probable that the following may inhibit the ministry's ability to effectively attend to employee concerns regarding these illnesses: budgetary constraints, which make it difficult to implement the policy to support employees to access medical services, stigmatization from employees and supervisors. Some supervisors do not accept to have ill employees, and these employees are considered non-performers. Some employees are denied access to information about the policy for fear that they'll become aware of their rights, hence use the policy to claim for many entitlements. This has affected the dissemination of the policy. On the other hand, there is fear on the part of some employees to disclose their status due to repercussions from some of their supervisors. These are some of the challenges the ministry will have to address. I now call upon the HIV/AIDS Committee under the ministry to take lead in HIV/AIDS and TB education on prevention, care, and treatment. The role of the ministry is best placed to play if we are to regain our achievements in reducing prevalence rates. My sincere appreciation goes to Ministry of Health, Uganda AIDS Commission, Uganda Cares, Stanbic Bank, and Stanbic Bank for the support extended to the ministry, without which this activity would not have happened. I thank the Department of Finance and Administration for the effort in ensuring that the activities on HIV/AIDS and TB are rekindled and implemented again. I implore you, my staff, to fully participate, get to know your status, live positively, and spread the gospel. Become ambassadors of behavior change and increase work productivity and performance in the world of work. It is now my pleasure to declare this health camp open. I'm not so sure, but there should be it's probably not on the program, but we want a highlight on the sexual harassment policy as stipulated in the standing orders. We need to give a small talk about that, because we have noted that when we are together like this, we are all putting on straight, smart faces and abiding by our policies. But when the interns come in, or when you see some vulnerable colleagues, some people have not been shy to start mistreating them. And want that to stop, because we all know it is illegal and it is undesirable. It is one of the issues that has led to higher prevalence rates. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam PS, for those remarks. We were told that there have been cases of sexual harassment in the Ministry of Public Service. I couldn't believe that this happened. So this is an opportunity for the presenter to expound on this issue and probably to raise our antennas regarding this matter. It's a serious matter. It can be a criminal offense if you're not careful. So beware. There has been a small tweak in the program. We were in Chankwan's in Feb 2022, but we had a meal prayer. So the soldiers were telling us, for you to eat, you must have worked first. As far as I'm concerned, we have worked for like 10 minutes. You need to earn this meal that you eat. So we are pushing forward a health break so that we utilize it for other important presentations that you will like. And then we shall have a presentation on NCD. NCD is non-communicable diseases instead of the Q&A. So that presentation is to be made by an officer from Ministry of Health, and you will like that one also. So that is the slide change that I wanted to announce to you. The tents for Ministry of Health, AIDS testing, and the TB clinic are open, and we've been told that you can quietly go there and you do the test. Our Undersecretary has said he will lead the way. That is very, very bold. Some people fear to do the test, but you have been encouraged to do it. But there's something that we are going to underline. It is voluntary. It is not forced. So don't worry. It is voluntary. So that is by way of adjusting the program. Next is mainstreaming HIV/AIDS in the world of work. HIV/AIDS and TB awareness presentation. Ministry of Health and Uganda AIDS Commission will take care of that presentation. We thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank the organizers of the event, Ministry of Public Service, Ministry of Health, and Uganda AIDS Commission for organizing this. I was telling someone that today we've not reported to our desks. All of us are here, but we know on a normal day we'll be on our desk. You are pushing this file, you are calling this, you are doing the work that you're paid to do. The employer today will forgive us. We are putting health first because we might have issues which we don't know. But today we've decided to put health first because your productivity will improve or decrease because your health is not good or it is good. So your life matters, so that the employer is given second priority. Priority is your health. So we want to encourage you to undertake the test. You debate between your mind and your heart. Whoever wins will tell you to go and do the test, and you will have made a good decision. So let's have the presentation from Ministry of Health, Uganda AIDS Commission on HIV/AIDS in the world of work, HIV/AIDS and TB awareness presentation. I wanted to give the microphone to the presenter. Teresa, is the presenter available? Okay, thank you.
You have a soft copy of this. You have sent an email. The age comes. I like that one. Where is the other stand?
Thank you so much. As they are fixing the stand, I would like to first of all thank the Ministry of Public Service and the PS. Thank you so much, staff and of the Ministry of Public Service and Ministry of Health for giving us the opportunity to share with you updates on HIV mainstreaming. My name is Charles Otai. I work for Uganda AIDS Commission as a monitoring and evaluation officer, and I'm privileged to share with you some updates on HIV and AIDS mainstreaming in our HIV and AIDS within our workplace. So I just want to give some facts about AIDS Commission, because there's people find it a challenge understanding what AIDS Commission actually does. The AIDS Commission was established in 1992 with the mandate of coordinating the multi-sectoral HIV response. And this is because HIV was seen as not only a health issue, but was affecting a number of other sectors, and a number of stakeholders had to get involved. So the government found it to establish a coordinating agency that would bring all players on one round table to see how we can fight HIV and AIDS. And the AIDS Commission is under the Office of the Presidency. So people normally mistake AIDS Commission and the AIDS Control Program. Now, the AIDS Control Program is under the Ministry of Health, and it's the technical arm that implements HIV and AIDS activities, while the AIDS Commission does the coordination and oversight. So, colleagues, I just want to give a history about our response to HIV and say that as a country, we've done very well in the HIV response. And this is from our statistics, whereby we have seen reduction in HIV prevalence. That's when we count number of people living with HIV has reduced on a percentage from about 18% in the early 90s to about 5.2% as per the last year. And even the new HIV infections have also reduced. About 10 years ago, we had about 100,000 new HIV infections occurring in a year. But because of all our efforts, we've been able to reduce that to about 52,000 people getting infected every year. And the 52,000 happened just last year. So you can see we've done very good progress in the HIV response, but that is still high. That is still high, much as we've done a lot. Because when you have 52,000 new infections in a year, that means that you are getting about 1,000 new infections occurring every week. 1,000 new HIV infections occurring every week. And this is because, it's very hard to believe it, but this data and statistics we are getting from our facilities, we are getting from our community. Even the deaths have reduced. About 10 years ago, we had about 50,000 people dying every year due to HIV-related diseases. But now, as per 2022, we had about 17,000 dying due to HIV and AIDS related illnesses. So that is still a high number that we cannot afford, really. And it happens 17,000 every year. But you not realize this because when you go for value, they will not tell you that so and so are dead because of HIV and AIDS. But it could have been a disease or an illness that is AIDS related. Because of the person's HIV status, they became vulnerable. And TV, they became vulnerable and maybe got a cancer, and that finally finished them off. So these deaths are actually occurring, and they're occurring within our communities and within our colleagues, our staff, our family members. So the problem is still there with us. So currently we have about 1.4 million people who are living with HIV, AIDS, and some of them know their status. Most of them know their status. About 90% of them are aware of their status, and about 10% are living with the virus, but they do not actually know that they have the virus. And this can actually be a potential risk and threat in that they are transmitting without knowing. Okay. And out of the 1.4, the majority are actually women. We have about in addressing that gap and putting our focus on the young girls and seeing how we can protect and prevent them from getting infected. Now, when we talk about having a prevalence of about 5.2%, that is for the general population. That is for the general population. But then we have some subpopulations that have a higher HIV prevalence, and the highest is actually the female sex workers. We have about 31%. I mean, HIV, 31% of them living with HIV. So that subgroup has a high prevalence. That subgroup has a high prevalence, and these people are there down streets because they have market, because they have people who need their services. So that means 31%, our husbands are also at risk. Our brothers, our sons, because they're the ones who are creating that market for this category of people. So when we are coming up with our interventions, we tend to focus more on those kind of subpopulations, the fisher folks, the armed people who move a lot and move away from their families. We also have, unfortunately, I don't know if I think we can be able to see from our screens there. The next slide, please. Okay, the light is too much, but I can, yes, the next one again, which has a map showing us the prevalence per region. And from there, we see HIV prevalence being occurring so high in South Uganda, which has got the Kalangala and the Buvuma Islands. And then the prevalence is the lowest in West Nile, about 2.3. But that's according to the regions. But when you go to our districts, you will find that Kabarole or Fort Portal has got the highest prevalence of HIV. So when you move in some of these areas, don't think that HIV is at 5.2%. But when you go down to specific areas, regions, you will find that the difference is actually there. So next slide, let's look at what are the risk factors for transmission. These are multiple concurrent partners, having many sexual partners that may not be related to you, I mean, or married. And then lack of condom use when you're exposed. You know, as a government, we had that policy of the ABC policy of abstinence. First, where you'll be very assured that your risks of getting infected are really minimal. Then beyond that, if you have a partner, then be faithful to that partner. But when you stray away from that, then you use a what? A condom. But condom use has also remained a challenge in our societies. Then transactional sex, I've talked about this category of people where the prevalence is about 13%. And then we've got STIs, sexual transmitted infections. When someone has an STI, they are very prone to transmitting HIV. Then cross-generation sex and early sex, we have what we call the discordant and non-disclosure, lack of circumcision, because it has been proven that circumcision reduces the chances of transmitting HIV. But of course, to 7%, about 60%. So when you get circumcised, don't think you're now very, very secure, okay? It just reduces your chances. And that's why we say, even if you're circumcised, please practice safer sex, either use a condom or have sex with a partner that you're aware of there. status. Then, of course, alcohol abuse is also one of those. Once when you abuse alcohol or when you misuse alcohol, your sense of judgment is lost. Okay, you've seen where someone goes and consumes alcohol and don't want to talk to any lady around them, but once they are charged, the lady around them becomes very beautiful. So these are the kind of risks we are talking about. Then the drivers, of course, have got social cultural norms, then wealth and wealth inequality and poverty. And this is where we attribute this much to the young girls. They are very vulnerable because of their social needs. Okay, so you find people taking advantage of them and then having sex with them, or even unprotected sex. Then the gender inequality, we talked about that. Human rights and stigma that are also drivers of the clinic, because you would find that when someone is stigmatized, they would hesitate to go and get HIV services. So we're not helping this person. Okay. Next slide. So I want to talk about the Presidential Fast Track Initiative on ending AIDS by 2030. The president came up with a pronouncement in 2017 on ending AIDS by 2030 as a public threat. Okay. So when we talk about ending AIDS by 2030, we are not saying that people with HIV should all be dead. No. We are the difference between having HIV and having AIDS. Okay. So we want to end AIDS by 2030. So you can live with HIV and beyond 2030, but we don't want you to progress into AIDS. AIDS is getting the disease now. When you become falling sick, when you become, when you get those illnesses, you lose the weight, what kind of thing. Because you now have treatment there. We've got therapies there, you can, live a normal life. And under the Presidential Fast Track Initiative, there are about 5 pillars that the president identified. And the first one is revitalizing HIV prevention and closing the tap on new HIV infections, particularly among the young girls, because we identified that the young girls are very vulnerable. And said, how do we reduce that gap between the young girls and other subpopulation groups? The second one is that can we consolidate our gains in the mother-to-child transmission? And as a country, we are doing very well in preventing mother-to-child transmission. But our goal is to actually have minimal or even zero transmission of mother to child, because the technology is there to stop this transmission. Right now it's at about 5%. But everything is there that once you're expecting, you go for an HIV test. Once you're positive, the health workers make sure that the baby doesn't get infected or get HIV. So can we concentrate on our gains and make sure that actually every baby that is exposed is born free and lives HIV free? Then accelerating what we call the test and treat. Previously, HIV treatment was very expensive and was only for those who could afford. But the government, the Ministry of Health, worked hard and made sure that whoever tests positive, straight away is enrolled on treatment. Previously, said they would first have to test your CD4 count because we had limited drugs. So they would first have those ones whose CD4 count is low, below 300, are the ones who would be enrolled on ARVs. But now, because the government and the Ministry of Health now has enough ARVs with us, whoever tests positive straight away, you begin on treatment, because the earlier you begin your treatment, the response will be better and you live a very normal life. And also your chance of transmitting to your either sexual partner will be so minimal. And number 4, the president talks about addressing financial sustainability of the HIV response. And this is because the HIV response is heavily funded by partners. About 85% of our HIV response is funded by partners. So that puts us at a very difficult position in that sometimes you're not able to make certain decisions because the person who is giving me the money will take decisions and say, this is what I want. So the president is saying, can we be able to reverse this and mobilize our own resources so that we can be able to make our own decisions? And even if the partners withdraw as it's happening right now, or as they're scaling down, we can be able to sustain our gains. And then lastly is ensure institutional effectiveness and a well-coordinated multi-sectoral response. And this is where my colleague, the chairperson of the coordination committee, was talking about that every sector should be involved in the HIV response. So what is HIV mainstreaming? HIV mainstreaming has been prioritized our current NDP3 right now. And as a ministry, we need to ensure that our health and well-being of our employees is our responsibility. So it is a process that enables management and institutions to address the causes and effects of HIV and AIDS in an effective and sustained manner, both through our usual work and within our workplaces. Okay. So internally, there are in two domains. First is to reduce the vulnerability of our employees, because we know our employees are very vulnerable. The PSC was saying that, we've got sexual harassment ongoing, so we need to protect those who are vulnerable from getting infected HIV. So within our places of work, we need to protect our staff, okay? Because we know sometimes they travel to the field, they travel for long days away from their families, and they may get tempted out there. So we try and make sure we have things in place. Condoms are easily accessible. They are aware of the risks that are there when they have risky sex. And then externally, this one has linked to our core function as a Minister of Public Service. We play that overall site with HR, with human resource in ministry in MDAs. So we have to mainstream HIV as we're rolling out our policies, okay, and make sure HIV is mainstreamed. So next slide has got what we're able to do as a ministry while mainstreaming HIV. We've got about what we call four thematic areas in HIV. The first one is prevention, where we have all our prevention activities involved. Okay, prevention, HIV prevention. And here at our workplace policies, at our workplace, what we do is sensitization at our places of work, just like what's happening today, talk about HIV, because people nowadays have not interfaced with the brand of HIV those days. So even awareness is not as much as we'd expect it. You saw the recent survey from UDHS was telling us about, okay, our HIV knowledge has increased about 80%, meaning that about 20% of people are not so much knowledge about HIV, including our people who are working, our people at the place of work, because we have not faced that brand of HIV when it was called slim in those days. Okay? So people nowadays even may fear pregnancy than HIV because they haven't had first interface with the real HIV as it was. At our places of work, we can also refer our staff for HIV testing because this is the entry point for HIV services. And I'm happy that today we are accessing those services free of charge. So please know your status, because they say the moment you have unprotected sex with the person of whom you don't know their status, then your previous status has expired if it is a negative previously. So take your test and know your status. Then we promote behavior change interventions, including disseminating IEC materials at our places of work. Let's develop our IEC materials talking about HIV, showing how HIV is transmitted, how to prevent it, and we put these IEC materials in strategic places. Let's not create very big documents about HIV. Let's just get key information. I have seen some of these places when you go to those places of convenience, urinals. You see very brief notes about prostate cancer. So when you're having your short call there, you will be able to get some good information about prostate cancer. That will interest you when you go and read more. So let's just bring some some bullets about HIV and put them in strategic locations
where someone maybe they're waiting for they're waiting to see the commissioner, but they're able to pick something about HIV somewhere in a notice board as they're waiting. Then promoting prevention interventions focusing on adolescent girls and young women. And I'm very sure at our ministry, we have people in that age group, 15 to 24, or even up to 30. Let's support and protect them because they're very vulnerable. Then promoting condom education and distribution in our places of work. And I hope we have adequate dispensers with us in our places of, in the Ministry of Public Service and making them accessible. You don't put a condom dispenser on the corridor. Those condoms will get dust. But you put them where someone can get without being inconvenienced that they're being seen picking a what? Picking a condom. And when you put them, we're not saying that now go and become promiscuous, but we are just saying, my dear, in case you are in that situation, you know, you see, when you put a spare tire in your car, you're not saying that you're going to get a puncture, but just in case. So let's have this with us, because we know people travel for long distances, and sometimes they go to the field, they stay there for a long time, and you never know what happens there. So let's have this with us in our places of work and making them very, very accessible. Then promoting access to mechanisms like prevention to substance, PMTCT. You know, some people are not aware that you can give birth to an HIV-free baby if you're HIV positive. So let's make the services available. Self-made circumcision. I don't know if we're having circumcision here also today, but it's also one of the services that are provided to reduce chances of transmitting HIV. Then we have what we call the PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. I know my colleagues from the Ministry of Health to talk more about this, where some people who are vulnerable or who are exposed take medication to prevent them from contracting HIV and AIDS. Then engaging men in HIV prevention and workplace and the community. You know, we have a challenge with uptake of services by men, especially HIV services. Men tend not to go and get HIV services, maybe because they think it's not manly to go to fall sick. So we need to, men have to open up, because actually, much as we have more men living with HIV, we have more men dying due to HIV compared to the women. Why? Because they delay to come out and accept and go and get the services. So we need to encourage the men to come out and they know their status. So as far as care treatment is concerned, as our second pillar, care treatment as a ministry of public service, that's not our core business. We cannot do direct treatment, but what we do is we refer our staff where treatment can be got. If we have insurance schemes with us in our places of work, we can negotiate with an insurance service provider, because sometimes getting treatment from our facilities might delay our staff. Maybe you want the person to be here for a meeting, but when they go to get their refills, they take long in the facility. So we can find a way of supporting them so that they can get their refills of ARVs conveniently. Okay, so the HR should take care of this and see how to support people living with HIV access treatment conveniently and without spending a lot of time. Then support and protection. Here we provide psychosocial support to our colleagues. So what aside they're able to come out and share with one or two people, and share with HR and said that once they are not well, it's understandable. And you don't go on lamenting, so and so has been around for 1 week. Next week, they're asking for leave, they're asking for this and that. So we need to be very understandable. Most of somebody has shared with us their situation like that. So we need to have psychosocial support within our places of work, so that we support people who are living with HIV. You know, we are facing so many issues of depression among people, among the working class. People are getting depressed because they are not getting support from the places of work. So we need to put mechanisms how we can support them. We can have a mechanism to address stigma and discrimination at the workplace, because HIV affects each and all of us. Either you are infected or affected, one or the other. And you don't blame a person for the HIV status. So let's come up with the policies of fighting stigma and discrimination at our places of work. Then under system strengthening is to make sure that we have our coordination structure in place, meeting on a quarterly basis and addressing HIV issues. Let's develop our workplace policy for HIV. I don't know if we have one at the Ministry of Public Service, but we should be having an HIV workplace policy so that we know how to support people living with HIV and AIDS. So those are some of the activities that we are supposed to be doing as an MDM, but also more so is allocating the 0.1% to HIV activities. And this came out from Ministry of Finance, that in our budget, we have to allocate 0.1% to HIV activities. This is one way of addressing the imbalance we have in financing the HIV response, you know. So this helps us to be able to have our coordination meetings to support our staff who are living with HIV if we have 0.1%, and also to print our materials that we want to disseminate, to come up with our workplace policy, disseminate it, carry out this kind of health camps. That's how that money is supposed to help us. What are the challenges in our response? One is inadequate and insufficient funding. Like I mentioned earlier, that our response is very dependent on partners and donors. So for the HIV response. Actually, we have a 5-year strategic plan for HIV, and we have a government effective implement that. I have talked about the amount of men, 40 to 49 years. And this is where the prevalence is the highest among the men, that category of 40 to 45, 49 years. The prevalence is high in that category of men. The children were at home. We had a high teenage pregnancies happening. So retaining a girl at school is one way of reducing their vulnerability and exposure. So we work with the Ministry of Education to have some subsidies to maintain girls at school, empowering women and girls to identify, to prevent and avoid instances of gender-based violence and situations that result into gender-based violence, reducing stigma and discrimination, and then strengthening mainstreaming in all our ministries, departments, and agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I had to share with you this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tai, for the presentation. You've given us a lot of information on HIV/AIDS, and I think
TB. We were sharing with Mr. Tai whether we should have a Q&A session immediately after his presentation, but let's have a presentation for Minister of Health. We'll do the question and answer session after the second presentation, which is going to be on the overview of TB in our society and workplace. And then we shall have another presentation on non-communicable diseases. So, Minister of Health, you're welcome to make the presentation on TB. Thank you. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
I'm making a presentation on tuberculosis. And I'm Dr. Henry Rize, Principal Medical Officer with the National TB and Leprosy Program. Right, so the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Public Service, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, I want to give a very quick overview of tuberculosis and focusing on the multi-sector accountability framework, where the Minister of Public Service has played a very big role in integrating TB activities into the sector. I will first of all let you know about the vision and mission of the program. So Uganda free of tuberculosis and leprosy. So that is the vision of the TB and leprosy program. We want a Uganda which is free of tuberculosis and leprosy. We are working together on the two diseases, tuberculosis and leprosy, because the organism that causes these two diseases, they resemble so much, and we could not here separate them because one tackled them at once. So the mission is to provide quality, accessible, and affordable TB and leprosy prevention, care services to all population groups in Uganda. And when we talk about all population groups, we really mean it. We don't discriminate against gender or any other group that we know of. So we have a strategic plan which is in place, and we are operating under this strategic plan, which is running from 2021 to 2025. So we have a goal that we all contribute to as a program, as sectors, and as communities. The goal is to reduce the incidence of tuberculosis from 200,000 per 100,000 patients to 160,000 by 2025. That means we have reduced the incidence or the new cases that we get per year by 20%, but also to reduce the proportion of children with leprosy to less than 3%. Right now we are at 8%, or by the time of this national strategic plan, but we want to reduce the proportion of children with leprosy to less than 3%. So our strategic objective number one is to create TB awareness and increase the seeking behavior, because we found out that the key challenge that we had was actually lack of awareness within our communities. So when you look very smart like you look now with these jackets, we are increasing awareness. And if we take them even outside here, beyond here, I think we are contributing to increasing the TB awareness among other things that we do. We also have to increase the TB prevention treatment. We know that once you have some factors that would predispose you to get active tuberculosis, we can give you drugs that can prevent you from progressing from where you are to active TB. So we want to increase the coverage of our population to more than 90%. For those who are eligible for taking drugs that can prevent you from the state where you are without TB to progressing towards the active tuberculosis. Then also we want to increase our treatment coverage to more than 90%. When we talk about treatment coverage, we know that we may have certain number of patients with tuberculosis. So we want to be able to identify and start those on treatment, and we want to capture at least 90% by 2025. I want to increase the TB treatment success. Once we identify the patients, we start them on treatment. But our challenges have been that when you start the patients on treatment, some of them don't complete the treatment for various reasons. So we want to increase the treatment success also by more than 90% by 2025. We talked about leprosy. And our strategic plan is to reduce leprosy new cases in children to less than 3%. Because once you have leprosy in children, it means that the adults also have leprosy. They are the ones passing the disease to the children. So the target is reduce the proportion of leprosy to less than 3% by 2025. But as we do all these things, we want to make sure that we also build an effective system and that can ensure quality, equitable, and timely response to TB and leprosy services. So what is actually tuberculosis that we are talking about? It is an infectious disease transmitted through air. So as we talk now, the organism is moving in air and it could be transmitting to us from one source to another, or one person to another. And it goes to the lungs. That's where it settles and it brings the symptoms of coughing and fever. So tuberculosis is a long-standing illness that primarily affects our lungs, just like COVID used to do, affecting the lungs. Even TB goes for the lungs. So the bacteria is called in scientific terms Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The one for leprosy is called Mycobacterium leprae, something like leprosy, but it's leprae. So as I already mentioned, transmitted through air, by coughing, sneezing, even when you laugh or talk. So as we laugh and talk, if we have the organism active, it can be transmitted to another person. So what are the key cardinal symptoms and signs for us to imagine or to presume that one may have tuberculosis? It is a cough for 2 or more weeks. So if you have a cough not responding to the usual treatment for 2 weeks or more, then we start presuming that it may not be the usual bacteria that we treat or the usual pneumonia. It could be tuberculosis. So start imagining, presuming you. So also have a fever for more than 2 weeks. Okay, if you have low-grade fevers in the evening, it's not responding, also for more than 2 weeks, we start presuming that maybe there could be something related to tuberculosis. Excessive drenching night sweats. You know, when you are sleeping and you wake up when all the bed sheets are wet with sweat, those are the drenching night sweats. We also start thinking something like that. The weight loss, which may be unexplained. These days, people lose weight fashionably, but there is a weight loss that we may not explain. We also start thinking. Then the key thing is history of contact. If you have a history of contact with someone who has had TB and you start developing these symptoms, you need to hurry and we test you. There's a symptom of swollen lymph nodes. You know, we all have lymph nodes in the neck, in the axilla, in the groin. Some other lymph nodes are not seen, they are internal. But if on external, you can see these swollen lymph nodes, either in the neck, the armpit, or in the groin, it could be that tuberculosis is one of the things that we need to think about. So once we know about the symptoms, we have to know about the prevention and control of tuberculosis. What should we do to prevent and control tuberculosis? First of all is immunization. We need to take our children at birth and you get them the vaccine for tuberculosis, which we call BCG. I think most of the parents here know about that. So we need to take that, the children, get them vaccinated at birth or any time of contact before 1 year. So go for testing and treatment as soon as we have TB symptoms. We talked about the symptoms. So we need to go, once you have those kind of symptoms we talked about, please go and get tested. And we are lucky today that we have a mobile TB clinic here. It's not an ambulance, but it is our mobile TB clinic. We have all the gadgets from the X-ray to the lab. So you can get tested and get the results there and then. And if there is a need to treat, we will get treated there and then. We have what we call the cough ethics. When you are coughing, we need to make sure that we get into those personal protection principles that we used a lot during COVID. Put a mask or don't cough openly to other colleagues, please. So use masks when you are in public places. Allow adequate ventilation of houses and offices. We should not be crammed into small offices or public transport, even our own homes. We shouldn't be really crowded in there. So we need to avoid those crowded places. We know that TB is quite common in a crowded environment, in prisons, even in schools and other crowded environments. We need to reduce air pollution. Air pollution in terms of tobacco use, or the smoke, the dust, the silica in the environment. All these predispose us to tuberculosis. But it's more important for us to detect tuberculosis and treat it early to completion. Because if we have among us people who have tuberculosis and we don't treat them, that means they will continue transmitting the disease to others. So to prevent that transmission, we need to detect these people among us early enough and get them treated. Once we treat them, then the chance of transmitting to other people is markedly reduced. So we need to make sure that we detect this early and make sure that we treat those people quite early. That's why these mobile clinics, they go down to the communities and be able to identify people with symptoms and treat them, detect them and treat them early. Because if you wait only the people to come to Mulago or the big hospitals, by the time they come, it's late. They have done a lot of havoc to themselves, but also in terms of transmitting to the people around them. So that's why the principle of going around to communities with these mobile clinics is paramount, but also going to workplaces and making sure that we institute those preventive and screening measures. So you would be interested to learn that about these bad statistics, but we cannot avoid communicating to them that Uganda is among the 30 high burden TB HIV countries in the world. It's not something that we boast about, but we need to talk about it so that we can put in place all what we need to do, all our energies in making sure that we pull out of these very bad statistics. And every year we detect over 90,000 persons with tuberculosis. That's every year. So if you take every year, you do that for instance 10 years, you will be in over 9 million. And the chance of one of us being in 9 million is real. Meaning that every day we take 249 TB cases. That's not a small number. And every year we lose over 12,000 patients due to tuberculosis, meaning 33 Ugandans die every day due to tuberculosis. These are statistics that we may not know, but they are very scary. Someone the other day was saying that if an accident happened and it killed 10 people, it will be all over the news. But TB is quite a killing 33. And no one comes out to drum anything. So we need to put these statistics into mind. So in Uganda, where is the most TB cases found? I don't know whether you can see the map, but we have the dark areas. We are seeing out of TB in West Nile region, in Karamoja region, in Buvuma region. So we are seeing out of TB, but all areas in Uganda, there is TB. Not only those, but in all areas, only that the biggest number of cases, we are seeing them in the West Nile, in the Karamoja region, in the Chori region, and then Buvuma, those islands. And we have some risk factors for tuberculosis. Okay, one of them is the HIV infection. The colleague has been here talking about HIV, but TB is the leading killer for people with HIV. And nearly 35% of people with TB are co-infected with HIV. So that is a very big risk factor, but also smoking. If we are smokers, the risk increases. Okay. We have an increased risk in people in congregate settings, the refugees, the prisoners, even in schools. So if the schools are congested, even our households, then the risk of tuberculosis increases. Then there are other non-communicable disease conditions that increase the risk, notably diabetes. So if you are diabetic or you know people are diabetic, and if they develop these symptoms that we talked about, they should quickly go for screening for tuberculosis, because diabetes and people who are undernourished, who are malnourished, they are very much at risk of tuberculosis. And you can see these graphs, which shows us that the lower the GDP per capita, okay? If the GDP per capita is low in those countries or those communities, then there is also the high incidence of tuberculosis. So one of the things we need to work on in the sector, especially now the public services here, is to make sure that the GDP or our employers are well catered for, so that at least they are not falling into the poverty areas, because the TB will increase. And also we talked about the malnourished people are not well fed. If they are not well fed, also the risk of tuberculosis increases. That we are seeing this in a lot in Karamoja, where the nutrition is not that good. We are seeing it a lot of children, even adults, who are malnourished, getting out of tuberculosis disease. So about the multi-sectoral issue with tuberculosis, TB finds people wherever they are, including the workplace, especially for those who are between 15 and 54. And most of us are in that age category in workplaces. So that's why we're engaging sectors and departments to make sure that really we work together to curb this problem. TB epidemic is strongly influenced by social, economic, and health-related factors that we have seen already. And 53% of households affected by TB spend at least 20% of their annual income in TB-related care costs. So the care costs for TB are high. The drugs may be free. The TB drugs themselves free, provided by government, but it's not all about drugs. There are other things that go into the care of a TB patient. Transport, getting other drugs that may, before you go to actually being diagnosed, they have spent a lot of money on other things. You go buy this, buy cadomolera, buy this antibiotic, which is not working. So by the time you get to the conclusion that this tuberculosis, you've already spent a lot. And 53% of the households affected by TB spend at least 20% of their annual income. That's a lot of money. Some have resorted to selling some of their property to care for themselves. If TB is left untreated, transmitted to the households, I have already mentioned, and not only the households, but also to our workplaces, through our contacts, work. So that is the message of tuberculosis. The good thing is that once you treat tuberculosis, it's curable. There's a lot of talk in communities that this is a disease that is not curable. Yes, those years before the drugs were there was that scenario that TB was not curable because you were what? There were no drugs. But a lot of advances have been made, and the drugs are now available, very efficient drugs, and TB is curable as we talk now. You take your drugs for 6 months, and you will be cured, okay, or treated successfully. So please, we need to, first of all, demystify the myth and also make sure that we find the appropriate treatment. That brings me quickly to leprosy. Some of us have forgotten that leprosy still exists. Actually, we have leprosy among ourselves. And I can tell you that leprosy is everywhere in each of these districts in Uganda. And we have identified patients with leprosy as late as this year. So we still have leprosy with us. And as I already mentioned, it is spread by an organism which looks like more of the one that spreads tuberculosis. This one is called Mycobacterium leprae. And it's also spread via droplets in the air through coughing and sneezing, just like tuberculosis that we talked about. For tuberculosis goes mainly into the lungs, but it can go in all organs, including skin. But leprosy mainly affects the skin. Some of you have seen leprosy patients. It's mainly the skin and also the nerves. Okay? Typically, when the skin is affected, you lose the feeling. Even if someone came and pinched you with a pin, you will not feel, but you just have your, say, a hypopigmented patch. It is less color, it is not as dark as, for instance, my skin. If I have a patch which is lighter than my skin and it is not painful, even if you came with a nail and a punch there, you won't feel anything. That's how leprosy presents. But also you can have numbness. You don't feel anything. Okay? In the hands and usually the feet, because these are the peripheral nerves. Then you can have thickening. You feel that the skin is thick, like there are nodules in there, like there are small nodules in there. Okay? Then you can get ulcers. Ulcers are not limited to the abdomen, but they are also ulcers that can, or wounds, you can call them wounds, that can come on the skin, even like in hands or the face or the legs. Okay? And those ulcers are also painless. Okay? They're usually painless. And you can get deformity. You can have a hand which look like this, then eventually you can look like a claw, like those of a claw. Those are deformities that can can come in the hands, in the feet, and eyes, everywhere where they are utility attacks. So this last year, we were able to identify 581 leprosy patients, mainly in West Nile region, in the Busoga region, but as I already mentioned, all districts contributed to these 581 cases. And the sad story is 12% of the leprosy cases that we reported, 12% of them were children. We say that our strategic plan aims at reducing leprosy patients that are children to less than 3%. But as of last year, of the 581, 12% were what? Children, meaning that there is a lot of transmission from adults to these children. Otherwise, if they were not adults, these children will not be getting leprosy. Now, from the 581, 17% of them, they already had visible deformity. So once you get leprosy deformity, it's very difficult to reverse it. Possible to reverse. What we do is if you have an ulcer that is part of your feet, some special made leprosy shoes that you can use to be able to walk. But in some of the other areas, we don't have what we can do. So the deformity would be permanent. If you can see the pictures, those are just demonstration of some of the presentations, which actually occurred sometime this year and last year here in Uganda. These are not from other countries, but they're from Uganda. You can see someone who got burnt on the lower side of the extreme right. That is some Ugandan who had leprosy, but they didn't know. He went and started touching fire. He was actually the man who makes chapati. If you eat it, you know what chikomando is. This is part of making the chikomando. So he was there in his sigiri, touching charcoal, which had fire, and he could not notice, could not feel the pain because he had leprosy in his fingers. It can be that bad, but you can see all these other conditions: the eye protruding, the ear nodules, and many other presentations. These are also other parts of the presentation. So quickly, I just wanted to mention the challenges that the program is facing, which is here not unique, the financial gaps. So we need to make sure that we engage sectors like public service, so that if we work together, is one way or the other we can do activities that can upset or contribute to this financial gap for TB and leprosy. Then, of course, the knowledge gap. We have a lot of knowledge gap in all areas, sectors, and communities. So we need to work on this so that we reduce the knowledge gap within the communities. Specifically, we have been engaging in public service, and I will highlight a few things that public service has really already contributed to the multi-sectoral accountability framework. The public service has nominated a TB focal person. So that is something we commend. The focal person will spearhead the TB mainstreaming, control and prevention interventions within the ministry. That is very commendable, and we thank you so much. The ministry has pledged to implement pre-employment and annual TB screening for public servants involved in delivery. That is something we know that we have had something like this in our standing orders, but to the limited implementation. But public service has really reactivated this, and we think that we should be moving, we are moving in the right direction. Then enforcing incorporation of TB service into HIV workplace policy. We have worked with officers from public service and worked together with the AIDS control program and AIDS commission to make sure that we leverage on the existing HIV workplace for HIV, and we include TB, because in reality, TB and HIV move together. So we worked with our colleagues in HIV And we harmoniously agreed that we integrate TB into this HIV workplace policy. So our prayers today, we want to continue creating awareness. So please help the program, help our journalists to know about tuberculosis. And as I already mentioned, we're already doing enough or a lot for public service. We just beg you, request you to continue. We need to address the key determinants of TB by engaging the affected households in economic empowerment. We are working with the Ministry of Gender as well, working with other sectors, also any sector that can contribute to improving household economic empowerment. All those interventions are very welcome. Then, of course, the integration of TB in HIV workplace policy with 4 points addressing TB, HIV, and other health issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I prepared. I want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Luze, for the elaborate presentation. Dr. Luze specifically dwelt on communicable diseases. We are going to have another presentation on non-communicable diseases. I'm going into a technical issue here, but what I know is the non-communicable diseases are those that you can't pass on to another person. The ones that you pass on to another person, like COVID, that one can catch any person who is next to you. But the communicable disease, the non-communicable diseases are the lifestyle diseases, the ones that we catch because of our lifestyle, our behavior, our cravings. So if you crave sweet things, you're going to get problems. So here is another presentation on non-communicable diseases. We have a presentation by Dr. Oshakachon James from Ministry of Health to take us to this presentation of non-communicable diseases. Thank you, Ms. James.
Good morning, the Permanent Secretary, and all protocol observed. I'm Dr. Oshakachon James from the Department of Non-Communicable Diseases, Ministry of Health. And I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Komakech Dennis, sitting behind there. And I have a brief talk on non-communicable diseases. And I was told that you are going to have screening services for HIV, TB, and non-communicable diseases. So I'm going to specifically talk to you as an individual, not really much on what we are doing as a ministry, but how you can prevent non-communicable diseases or how you can manage them if you already have one. So non-communicable diseases are those diseases that cannot be transmitted from one person to another. Different from TB, from HIV, that you can transmit to one another. And they tend to be chronic in nature, such that once the doctor tells you that you have diabetes, you will be with it for the rest of your life. And these diseases, though very many, have certain common risks. Some of the risks cannot be prevented. For example, as you grow older, okay, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, you are likely to get high blood pressure, you are likely to get diabetes. Some can affect a male more than a female or a female more than a male. Or some occur because of some genetics, how you are made. But there are others which occur because of things that we can avoid. For example, cancer of the cervix is caused by a virus which is sexually transmitted. So if you get the vaccine, if you go to screen early, you can avoid cancer of the cervix. Our colleague already mentioned, if you have TB or HIV, your chance of getting diabetes can be higher. So if you avoid those diseases, or if you have it and you go to screen regularly, you may prevent getting diabetes. So the common diseases that are classified as NCDs include cardiovascular diseases like high blood pressure, like heart diseases, chronic respiratory diseases like asthma, cancers, diabetes, and mental health problems. Depression, anxiety is very common among our population. Now, all these diseases also have common risk factors. Unhealthy diet is very common for us to eat fast foods, not so? While you're in office, you don't have time to cook at home. So on your way back, you order for KFC. This food has a lot of salt, they have a lot of fats, and that is dangerous. Tobacco use. When you smoke tobacco, it can predispose you to very many health problems, including lung cancer. But even the neighboring people who don't smoke directly, when they inhale the smoke, it is a big problem. Harmful use of alcohol. You go to the bar and complete a crate in one night. Okay? And that is routine every day. Physical inactivity. Because you stay far from the workplace, you have to drive very early, come and stay in office and drive back in the jam. You don't have time to exercise. And air pollution. All these individually, we can do something about it. But also as different ministries, agencies, and departments, we can do something about them. So if we are to prevent these common diseases, then we must seek screening early. We must fund activities to screen, and we must do surveillance to monitor how these diseases are faring in the communities. So by 2016, we found that 33% of the deaths in our country was as a result of non-communicable diseases. That means in every 10 deaths, at least 3 died as a result of non-communicable diseases, maybe stroke, heart attack, complications of diabetes. But most of these people were young, productive, before 70 years. And these are the 5 diseases that we mentioned. If you include injuries, accidents are very common in our communities, and mental health complications, it is even higher. The most worrying part is that 80%, we did a study and found that 80% of those who have non-communicable diseases did not know. So among us, we have a test there, I'm sure they're doing blood pressure check. Before you leave today, go and know your blood pressure. You may be healthy or feeling well, but your blood pressure is high. So diabetes is also common, and some studies find that 9 out of 100 people have diabetes. Asthma is another common problem, and about 12% of especially children have asthma. Cancers are also common, especially in women. We have cervical cancer and breast, and in male prostate cancer. And mental health problems are also very common. Alcohol. The study found that 40% of men and 17% of women take alcohol. And unhealthy diet, 87% of women and 88% of men do not include vegetables and fruits in their diet. So it is important to have plenty of fruits and vegetables in our diet and less of the proteins, meat, chicken, pork, among others. In terms of physical activity, most of us are physically active, especially in the rural areas. But in towns, the number of those who are less active is increasing. And I've explained it's mainly because of the nature of the work and availability of other means of transport. So you're always driving to and from work and you don't have time to exercise. Hypertension or high blood pressure. 1 in 5 Ugandans have high blood pressure. And when you have high blood pressure, you are at higher risk of heart attack. You are at higher risk of getting other complications that affect the kidneys and other organs. When we eat a lot of fats, we get fats accumulating in the blood, what we call dyslipidemia in medical terms. We take a lot of drinks with sugar, including the sodas, Coke, Mirinda, among others, and this raises the blood sugar. So how do we prevent this? I've already told you what you can avoid. Look for how to have healthy diets. Stop using tobacco. Stop alcohol, and if you cannot stop, then regulate. Get time to exercise. Let's reduce air pollution and manage stress. Let's screen. At least every year, find time to go to the health facility to check your blood pressure, check your blood sugar, and ask the doctor to advise you on what tests to do. When we are planning in development of our urban centers, let's plan for where people can walk, ride. And all ministries, departments, agencies, civil societies are encouraged to incorporate activities that reduce non-communicable diseases in whatever they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Takachan, for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to run through very quickly because the rain might start within a few minutes. We wanted to go to the Q&A on all the presentations that have been done. If you have any question on the presentations that were made by Dr. Shakachon, Dr. Luze, please, and then Ms. Otai from Uganda AIDS Commission, please raise your question. My question is this one. from Uganda, for Mr. Otai. We've had very many attempts at getting a vaccine for HIV/AIDS. What is the latest regarding a vaccine for HIV/AIDS? Thank you.
I've selected myself.
Sir, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. My question goes to this Dr. Luze. Yes. You showed us a picture of somebody who had the leprosy, and he was a chapati maker, and he burnt himself. Because said, you lose the feelings. But I note that there are many people who deal in food. And especially around this area here, we have so many people who deal in food. But what is really the public health department doing? Because my understanding, all these people who touch it was all to be really tested regularly and authorized and having the authority to deal in food. So what are we doing really to prevent the public from passing on the communicable diseases in this respect? The other issue you talked about is about leprosy. It's just a concern that when I move around, especially in Usoga, we had those leprosy centers which were established by the Germans long ago. They have all gone to waste. Some of them are in the bushes, overgrown, unattended to. And now you are saying there is a resurgence of leprosy. What plans do you have for some of these centers, and where has the ministry been as these centers have been going to waste? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaima. The floor is open to anyone who has any question on the presentations that were made on non-communicable diseases and on communicable diseases, and the M&E officer from Uganda Commission reported to us about what they are doing, the interventions of government on HIV/AIDS. So any issue on those presentations, please raise your hand, thank you, and you ask. If there are no further questions.
Sorry. My third question goes to the officer from the Uganda Commission. Yes, you have talked about the 0.1% of the budget allocation as an issue of sustainable funding to HIV/AIDS interventions. And I know this has always been communicated in the budget policy circular. My concern is about how practical this is, and probably the mode of enforcement of ensuring that MBAs allocate 0.1% of their budgets towards HIV/AIDS interventions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaima. We don't have any further questions. Please, we'll want to give the microphone to the presenters. Mr. Otai there, Dr. Luze will answer, and then Mr. Chakacha also.
Yeah, thank you so much, MC and Mr. Kaima, for those questions. The first one is about the vaccine and how far. Currently, there are a number of efforts and trials that are ongoing within the country and out of the country. And getting a vaccine for HIV takes a lot of time, because the virus is a stubborn one, it keeps on mutating and changing all the time. So I can't tell you at what stage they are, because there are different efforts right now ongoing within and out of the country. Some of them to a certain stage, and then they have to revert back again because of maybe something is not going on well. But a lot of efforts are ongoing. But what I can share with you right now is that we are able to have the ARVs that are very effective, that stop the virus from replicating. And actually they work so well. More so if we start your treatment early enough,
you are able to suppress the virus, and that will minimize the chance of even transmitting to your sexual partner. That's when your viral load is suppressed. So I can't tell you how far they are going in the vaccine trials. There are a number of them ongoing. But what we have is that we have the ARVs, we have what we call the PrEP, the prevention of the pre-exposure prophylaxis and the post-exposure prophylaxis. These are ARVs that you take, especially for discordant couples. One is positive, one is negative. So the person, one negative, will take these drugs, ARVs, to prevent them from getting infected, and actually very, very effective. Or those, if you have been exposed, especially people who have suffered rape or defilement, something like that, or health workers who have been exposed, you will take the medication within 72 hours, it will prevent you from getting infected. So those are the efforts that are right now working so far as you are looking for the vaccine. Mr. Kaima asked about the 0.1% allocation. 0.1% allocation to HIV was a challenge previously when there was no vote output code. But now we have an output code 00013. And I think I will share with you how we are doing so far right now from reports from the Ministry of Finance for this financial year 2023-24. Most of MDAs and local governments have allocated money to HIV, the 0.1%. And the desk officers are very keen on this at Ministry of Finance, that if you have allocated money to HIV, you will be asked to do so. But we're also working with Equal Opportunity Commission at the time of passing your budget. If you have not spent money on HIV in the previous year, your budget will not be passed beyond the Equal Opportunity Commission. So enforcement is there, but even the response is very positive from the MDS. And I will share with Mr. Kaima how we are. And I think even public service here also allocated. Most of the challenge previously was there was no code where you would allocate that money, but now the code is there. So it makes work very easy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chai. Let's give the microphone to Dr. Luze to tackle these issues.
Thank you, Mr. Kaima, for that very good question raised. This is a very broad discussion concerning food hygiene. The Public Health Act, this issue is there, embedded in what should be done. And I can tell you that the authorities are there, even in the Kampala State Council Authority. We have a unit that deals with that. But the issue, I think, like in many other areas, is the issue of actual enforcement. How do you enforce this? And it's not only leprosy. The worst challenge are even things like cholera, dysentery, typhoid. But specifically for leprosy, it's very challenging because that was the first way that the person got to know that he was having leprosy because he was not feeling much, anything. The only thing that manifested was touching fire without any feelings. So there is no way anyone else could have noticed. And that's the funny thing with leprosy. But it's a very pregnant issue that needs to be tackled. We have everywhere we eat, these parts are supposed to be free individually, and recommendations made, but the enforcement, as much as we have that regulation, but enforcement is the challenge. Say that. Then on the issue of the centers, especially they talked about the Guluva, we have Kumi, we have Kuruva, we have in Kagando. These were very prominent reprocess centers. But when there was a time when even up reprocess is under elimination, but there was a time when cases went so low and people thought that there was no need to maintaining, and there was no proper legacy planning, I would say. But the places are still there. For instance, the Guluva is being used now more for trainings, to reprocess, and the other TB-related cases. Kuruva, we have where they make the shoes. We talked about the disability shoes for reprocess sufferers. and many other things. But if the cases continue rising, we never know what the recommendation will be. Whether we need to put the patients back into wards, because these days they are being treated made from home. Treatment has really has changed a lot. You don't have to incarcerate someone for a long time. So we see that that's what I can see. You have something you want to add?
Yes, a follow-up on those two issues. Yes, I know, but you have communicated your presentation where it was largely on communicable diseases. Yes, TB and leprosy being one of them. Sorry, TB and leprosy being one of them. But I think it has the appendages with the Public Health Act and the Public Health Inspection and something like that. So I think the public will need the assurance from the Minister of Health about the issue of food hygiene, which I've talked about. Because at the end of the day, Minister of Health remains the responsibility of securing the public. Because all these people are dealing in food. So many diseases, but yes, you have talked about the challenge of enforcement. So who is to tackle that challenge of enforcement? And I think I'm here on behalf of public service, sending a very clear message to Minister of Health that I think this is a clear concern that we need to be tackled as part of the outcome of this health camp. At all the health units which have gone to waste, again, this is the same public. And where has the aspect of integrated planning gone? Yes, I know you have said that leprosy had almost been eliminated out of the country. But what signals do we send to the public when we see these health facilities wasting? They are in bushes. Why could they not be configured? And yet we are going into aspects of constructing new health facilities. So again, we need the assurance that the Minister of Health should be able to look at the functionality of some of these facilities, revitalize them and see them function. Otherwise, it sends a very, very, very bad signal in the eyes of the public. When you see these facilities in overgrown bushes, they are not functional, but then you are striving to establish facilities when these ones are there and long established. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaima. Those are public policy issues, and as part of the state, we grapple with those issues, and they can be escalated because wherever we go, we represent the government. But we also see with our own eyes these issues. So this can be escalated to Ministry of Health to address this issue, because at the end of the day, we are the authority on health issues in Uganda. KCCA is just a jurisdiction, but you can also direct them on issues of health, and they can hear what you said. So that is by way of concluding the discussion on the presentations. Next is the presentation by Stanbic Bank on is it financial fitness or whatever it is. Please take the floor. Present. Thank you.
As the presentation comes on, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Is it already afternoon? And it's still morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope all you're well. Are you energized? You are. you make me, and if you are energized, I'll be more energized. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Namodu Allen, and I'm the relationship manager for all government entities, and the Minister of Public Service being one of them, as into my watch. So I support the employees on their wealth journey, and I'm also a certified coach into the financial fitness. Okay. So we will start with what our current money realities as individuals. We've seen economic uncertainties, financial distresses. We've just taken back our children to school, and all those are our financial realities. Those are our financial distresses, increasing commodities of products and services. Well, the salaries are still the same. The salary is stagnated, but the things we are supposed to do, the costs are high. Job cancellation we saw in the COVID wave when some of the staff lost their jobs in the NGO space because of funding. Also increasing interest rates in the different credit facilities, and also we continue to see income inequalities, so to speak. So Gregory David Roberts says that if we cannot respect the way we earn it, money has no value. And if we cannot use the money to make our lives and families and our loved ones better, then money has no purpose. Moving on. I would just like to get your expectations of this session. Of course, today's objectives, we are looking at equipping you to think holistically about your money. Budgeting, how do you use your money wisely? Saving, how do you save your money? Investments, how do you grow your money? And you let your money work for you, not you working for your money. Then managing debt, we've seen so many people borrowing left, right, and center. Some of us, we are borrowing even from our own children. You borrow from a bank, you borrow from a microfinance, you borrow from your neighbor. Even the small money you put for your child, you still go for it. And you borrow from there and you still not put it back. Another thing we are looking at is how do we empower you with our banking services and products? Know your options. Don't just go because so-and-so went to the other bank. Go with a purpose. You know what you want. You should know what you're supposed to be charged. If there are so many charges, please close those accounts. Come to Stanbic Bank where we actually don't charge a lot. Basically, as Stanbic Bank, we believe in Uganda is our home and we drive her growth. And we are here to support. I remember during COVID, we stood with the Ministry of Health and we said, for the health workers, we shall give you loans at lower interest rates. You have insurance because we saw many health workers getting infected. We had, up to now that product is there, the insurance cover for the health workers, and then having zero cost. And take off, be safe wherever you are, take cover. And then the health workers were standing up for us. So we thank the health workers for their great job they've done for us. And thank you, Minister of Public Service, for always partnering with Stanbic Bank. Yeah. There's a question here in the poll. How is your financial situation like? Is it a good one? How would you describe your financial situation? Maybe 2 or 3 people can just let us quickly how their finance situation is currently. 2 people. Good? Limping. That's the word. We are all limping. We've just taken back our children to school and the stress of back to school. But as a bank, we came up with a proposition saying, no, if you're taking back to school, can we give you money, lower rates, a higher tenure of 7 years, 250, don't pay any arrangement fees, do not pay for 2 months, for the next 2 months, get a break. Do not pay, take your full salary for the next 2 months. So that only happens at Stanbic Bank. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to say that we launched and people are paying via FlexPay. They are winning money every week, about 500,000 per person. Why financial fitness? It's a question that we shall ask ourselves. Uganda's population, research has it that Uganda's population is financially stressed. Is that correct? We are. 21% of the Ugandan population, ladies and gentlemen, will live below poverty line of $1.9 a day. What does that mean? That we are really poor. So banks are here to support you and improve on your financial stress, financial health, so that you can be able to maintain yourselves. I think 2 years ago, we launched a product for the ladies where we are giving ladies in business and also those who are salaried. We are offering you interest rate of 15.5%. You cannot find it anywhere, which is about 1%, 1.2% per annum for the ladies to empower you. And because research has it that the ladies have been taking care of their families, especially the people who are doing mama, what is that side business called? Mudala. Yeah, we went and did the research on Mudala, and most of those ladies on Mudala are the ones taking care of their children. So we said we will partner with you, and we got to know their fears. Your rates are high, we cannot afford, all that we had. And we said, come, we can actually support you. 46% of our population is under the age of 15. What does this mean? It is a young population. And most of us here, we are very young. So we need a lot of financial support to get out of the financial stress. 6% of adults are able to meet their financial obligations. 6% out of the almost 50 million people we are. And only 6 are able to meet financial obligations. Then also research says that workforce has that people in the workforce have only NSSF and they're only saving. We do not have a culture of saving as Ugandans. And here as a bank, we are here to tell you, please, we have all the savings options. I have come with the saving option guru, and that is my colleague Jovia. She will just take you through just the investment option towards the tail end of this presentation. Also, research says that 25% of us, we spend our day at work worrying about financial stressors. What are our financial stressors? School fees, utility bills, those who are renting, those who, anything that you need to spend money on. You've lost somebody, you have sick children, they are not insured, all that. So as Stanbic Bank Uganda, Financial Fitness Academy provides the following. We do education, a structured financial education led by the financial experts. We have one here, Jovia. We also do engagement, targeted ecosystem. We do partner with the ministry, with the other entities to do engagement with their staff. Welfare planning. We provide tools to provide quality life, ability to attain financial freedom, and also create wealth. Personalization, we also look at opportunities to identify and just fit in your financial situation to ensure that we tailor that product to you as an individual and not general. Then we also do, so our wealth framework is based on 5 pillars, where we look at create and building wealth, saving and investing, live and enjoy, share a legacy, and also plan and protect. I'll talk about all these components in one. And in life, we look at create and build looks at creating value, while live and enjoy, legacy, share legacy, and plan and protect is giving purpose. Okay. Moving on. I'll just pause onto a video where we will be asking a question to you, posing a question. I just want to pose a question. What is wealth to you? Anyone? Any trial? What's wealth? Anyone who wants to try what wealth means? Are we together or it's the rain? Is it the weather? What is wealth? I can't move there. So much for that trial. It's indeed the correct thing. I'm going to play something, a video for you, and we see what is wealth.
Paychecks become stepping stones to reaching your dreams, moving you from humble. What is wealth? So often wealth is only in terms of how much money you earn, or how many material possessions you accumulate. But true wealth is so much more than this. It's actually what we value most in life. The journey starts from those very first steps to your first school day. It's independence, kickstarts investments in the future. It's achievement beyond expectations. As classrooms become offices, and paychecks become stepping stones to reaching your dreams, moving you from humble beginnings to a multinational company that is shaping Africa's skyline. First day becomes the first kiss, and new plans for two. That's not sealed for a lifetime. And suddenly, someone else's dreams are in your hands. The first flat becomes your dream house, and two become three. Changing your priorities and rewriting your destiny. Businesses become each holidays. Your investments become the gift that gives your children the key to the world. Years of planning lead to peace of mind in retirement, and this need for your grandchildren and the time to spend together. For us, true love is called us because we are all in distributions, commission and corporate banking. Now, we grow and preserve what it is today. So they can look back and see what was made, dreams fulfilled, books exceeded. What is wealth to you?
Thank you so much. So according to the video, wealth is a long life journey. Wealth is not the material things you see only, but it's a lot more. It's from so wealth is a long life journey. It starts from the day when we were born. We start our first steps to run. We go to school until we graduate. We get to our first job. Our first paycheck enables us to earn and start our dreams as people. Our wealth philosophy is based on 5 beliefs, and we normally start with an end in the mind. What do you want to achieve? I want this A, B, C, D. What do you want to start? If you want this, what is it you need to do to reach where you want to be? Maybe you're planning to have children you've not had. You start planning now and start saving for your children's school fees. I'll call upon all the young people who haven't gotten children. This is the right time to start saving for your children. And those who have children, it's not too late. We can still start small. Our savings options start from 20,000 shillings and above. And then you can actually secure your children's future. And then also the second belief is wealth is about your life's purpose. What is your purpose in life? What do you want to give? What do you want to achieve? So it's also about your purpose as an individual. As you see in the first instance is you and your family are unique, and it's also one of the beliefs. Wealth is a long life journey. Yeah. If you want to do shortcuts, you can actually, lose your life within that time. So you need to do a long life plan, and you move with your plan. Also, another belief is risk is relative. Everything we do, there is risk. Yeah, but you just need to know what kind of amount of risk can I accommodate as an individual. And lastly, you and your family are unique. We will not say that what fits X fits Y fits Z. Every person is unique, and we have to customize the services towards that uniqueness. Okay. When we go to the good financial habits, good money personalities, good financial habits result into good financial results. So, which one are you? There is the wary one who wants to keep their money. They cannot put it in the bank. They want to keep it in the suitcase because they don't trust anyone. Then there's an entrepreneur who sees an opportunity and jumps on it and seizes it. Then we have the big spender. I have received my paycheck today, 30th or 28th. I think Ministry of Public Service pays on the 28th. And then I'm like, yeah, let's go out, let's hang out the boys, and we could do Gaza Mesa. You're showing that you have the money. The first day, the money goes on reducing. Of course, then it gets finished before even the month ends. Then we have the smart ones who come and say, oh, I've received a gratuity. I believe a big service you receive gratuity every year, I guess. So when you receive that gratuity, what do you do with it? Yeah. Do you just go and spend it or build a house, or you part of it you suddenly invest? So those the smart ones who get money and they'll start thinking of investment options. Okay. So what league are you when it comes to one, big saver, big spender, big borrower? The income is the same. What league are you? If you ask yourself a question, what league am I? Am I on the big spender, the big saver, that every money that I get, I save almost the 80% and I spend 20%? Or when I get the income, I save 10% and I spend the 90%. Then the big borrowers, even when before the salary has come, you have already, borrowed and you're now paying debts. And the salary is very little like this, the debts are those 70%. Please run away from a person who is giving you a loan and they are taking 70, 80, 90% of your salary. Run away. For start people, we don't go beyond 50%. Okay. So we have goals and we have the preferred future. Peter Senge says that tension always seeks to resolve itself in a more stable state. When you get a rubber band, put your rubber band here, your current reality is always here. So you have to create or build creative tension to ensure that you come where your prepared future. But every time you're not looking at your goals, you're not saving, definitely you never attain your preferred future. Okay. Moving on. Yeah. Mapping your finances in your life is critical. In your financial life, it's very critical. When you're young and promising, and that means you've just graduated, you've just gotten your first job, or you're just getting into employment, make sure you make a budget and track your money. Make a dent in your debt. That time is when you should start now borrowing actively. Start saving for retirement. Actually, we normally start saving for retirement when we're about to retire. But it's important to start saving for retirement as soon as you get your first paycheck. You ensure you save. Draft a will. I don't know if most of you have wills. Of course, in Uganda, it's a habit we say, if I draft a will, I may die tomorrow. Yeah, but it's not correct. You can actually draft a will and live 100 years. So we encourage our clients to draft wills where you don't know. We have actually, those wills are even on the government website. Even in the banks, we can help you get the draft of the will. You can even write down, I have 10 children, I have the 2 plots of land, I have ABCD, and you put them in the will. If anything happens, your children and your people will be actually saved the burden of running after your property or your estate, because we've seen rich people whose business has actually gone to the drain here because the family members are fighting. Why? Because there are no wills. So it is important we draft wills. Ensure yourself against disability. We actually overlook these things. Sometimes when the employer has given us insurance, we don't think about other people. But even your people around you, ensure that they are insured. Either you insure your car, you insure your life, and all that. Then, as you climb into your profession or career, you start getting a financial plan. Initiate more aggressive saving and investment plans. If you've been doing a savings every month of 20,000, it is time up to increase, because now your salary has grown a bit. It's more than what it has been. So it's unlikely that it's likely that you'll be able to save more. And then also buy good assets. We shall look at what are good assets and bad assets. As you're climbing in your career, you get married, settle down, create and update your will. At this stage, you have now new people, and your wife or your husband has joined you, and you're going to ensure you add them onto your will. Get also insured. Insure your family for uncertainties. Begin paying off your home loan. Remember, when you've just started your career, you buy a home loan. Normally in Uganda, people start career at 24, 25. A mortgage is 25 years apart from, but you find that somebody has actually worked for Ministry of Public Service for the last 30 years, and they've never considered a mortgage. A mortgage is a best way to accumulate your asset, but also pay in manageable installments. Yeah. As parenthood also sets in, when you get married, what next? We get children. So when you're getting children, you now start reviewing your estate plan, aim at being debt-free. Now we know you have a debt, you have a loan at this time, you have 3 children, one at the university paying 4 million shillings, one at the senior 6 paying 1.5. Maybe his luck is in his SMART. He's paying, SMART, they're paying how much? Like 4 million? 2.5. He's in SMART paying 2.5. You have another, probably in Green Hill somewhere, also paying about 1.82 million. That alone, in one term, it can strain. But when you have, when you save for your children education, understand Big Bank, we say you can save under Educare. Educare can help you plan for the 10 years or 20 years for your children. Then also teach your children about money. Now you've started getting children, teach them about money. Do your children have small pig banks, or when every money they get, they run to buy a sweet? So we need to teach them, to teach our children the value of money now. Actually, yesterday I visited my son's class, and they were reading, before they were now reading about money. So the teacher was like, come here and get for me 50,000, all the currencies and all the coins. I told him I'll get them for you. Why? They want to teach these children the value of money. So even us as parents, we need to start teaching our children the value of money. Sorry. And then you need to start also planning for retirement. As you're joining the organization, do not plan to retire. We'll plan for retirement when you've been in the organization for 20, 30 years. No, start planning for retirement at the time when you're joining the organization. That is the best way to help you to prioritize. One, you will be able to know that when I retire, I'll either not have any income, or for the public service people, you know that when you retire, you'll be earning 700,000. You have to know about that, and you ensure that whatever you do, you're doing towards that retirement, the 700 plus what other investments you will add on. Review also your investments. If you have so many investments, for the better. But if you have loans with you, start downsizing when you're planning for reducing on your debt burden. Look for funds to support other people. You know, the world says that give back the equivalent to what you get out of the world. So during retirement, we'll look at mainly looking at, we will look at generally charity and giving back to society and supporting. Moving on. So our first philosophy is build and create. We'll just briefly tell you more about it. How do we make money and build our wealth? That is the first instance that we look. So we have 4 categories of how we make money. The first one is entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a volatile, risky, but the wealth that you create in entrepreneurship is a lot because of the risk. Where there's high risk, there's high returns. Then we have the employee, the corporate employees. You and I, our money gradually accumulates. Yeah, you start earning. You start your first job with 1 million. Then you maybe get a promotion. You earn 2 million. You get another promotion. So it is gradual accumulation. And with the corporate employee, the only way we can build our wealth is by getting these loans from banks, and then you invest with the purpose. Not just to invest, and then with those, probably With those, you'll be able to make money and then pay off this mortgage and be financially free when by the time you make 40, 30, 50 years. Self-employed and professionals, this and higher amounts, that's we are talking about doctors, engineers, and businessmen. Their money, the earnings is higher, but it comes in the growth is slow. Yeah. And then when you look at the passives, people who inherit, I have a rich dad, I'm a planned child, you know, I know I'll inherit, but still you must have a capacity to sustain that wealth that you're going to inherit. How do you achieve, so how do we achieve this and why is it important? It's very important to position ourselves for success and also invest in ourselves, staying relevant. At these days, you will believe me, employers do not pay for how long you've been in employment. Is that true? They will pay for the value you are bringing on the table. You find that somebody is coming from the university and she's coming at a salary of 10 million, and you've been in that same role because you've not added value to yourself. You are going to stay at that same salary rate. Moving on. So this I've already talked about. It's just a graph showing you the entrepreneur earnings of wealth creation is bumpy, but the amounts are higher, the net worth. And then for the self-employed, it's gradual. It's self-employed, it's high but slow. Yeah. And then for the person who is a corporate employee, it's just gradual because you're earning 1 million, 2 million, and all that, and it goes on. So with time, it's with time. So tell me, if you're earning 1 million every year, and then the other year you earn another 2 million, are you going to be able to save 100 million to build a house? No, it will not be possible. So that's why we are here as banks. You come and talk to us, and we support you on what exactly on what you want for success. So basically, dreams plus hard work plus dedication and perseverance will equals to success. Okay. Living and enjoying is basically saying, how do you maintain your children's lifestyle and still realize your plans, dreams, and aspirations? Especially your children's school fees are very important to you. Travels and holidays for some people, they are important to them. Buying lifestyle assets and hobbies are very important, but you need to ensure that you maintain your lifestyle. Budgeting effectively is key in your finances. So budgeting is the process of basically creating a plan on how you spend your money, period. I have my money here, and this is my income. I mean, this is the income, this is the expense. Balancing your expenses with your income is critical. Creating this spending plan will help you determine whether you will have enough money to do the things you would like to do. So it is very critical. So we will just look at the budgeting, understanding your budgeting. So first steps first in the financial journey, you have to start with your budgeting. The budget is very, very critical. So you will first of all reflect and re-examine and draw up a budget for yourself. Get to know what are your sources of income. You have your salary. You have maybe a rental somewhere. And then you also have, say, investments. Those are all interest and incomes coming to you. Then on this side, what are my fixed expenses? Those expenses that you have to deal with on a monthly basis. And then what are those variable expenses? Those variable expenses are those that come in. They are not monthly, they are not constant, but they are there. And the unforeseen expenses, those ones, we've lost someone, there's a wedding coming up and all that. And will also help you. Moving on. Mapping your expense is our next in line. You will reflect on this. Where am I spending most of my money? Is it on travel? You equate how much of my salary or my income am I spending on travel? education, home, communication, entertainment, and all the other things that may not have been listed here in your own what? In your own world, list them and ensure that on a monthly basis, you start by listing your expenses. And then after 2 or 3 months, you start now mapping your expenses that, okay, I'm spending 10K on travel every day. If I pull car with my neighbor who is also going in the same direction, we can actually use the 10K, 2 of us per day. So you can see how you can reduce on your costs. So mapping your expenses will help you in such a way that you know what you're supposed to use and what you're going to consume. So 20%, 50% of your money should be on fixed costs, which means if you have a loan, it should be in this same fixed cost of 50%. But sometimes we have loans at 80%. But you also want to save 20%. It's already at 100. And the other variable costs that you don't know is 30%. We already beyond our budgets already even before we earn it. Some of us don't even get money to take home. You just have a pay slip and you say, okay, my salary, okay, increased, but they've taken off the SACCO loan, the bank has taken off, and this, and then you're back to zero. So budgeting and reflecting on your spend and also your income is very critical. Okay. Moving on, I mentioned about buying assets, good assets, right? So good assets, what are good assets? What are bad assets? We have those type. We have the house, we have the boat, we have the furniture, holiday, a smartphone, unit trust, plot of land, car, and money market. If you reflect, which one would you circle as a good bad asset? I'll just explain to you. Bad assets increase income. Good assets increase income and also, generate income and increase in value. If I have bought a car, for example, that car, if it is supplying goods and we are getting money, that would be a good asset. But if you buy a Lexus and it cannot even go, I don't know, in that place it's called where Namgongo side, Chitukutwe. If you are buying a Lexus or a Ferrari and you want to take it in Chitukutwe, my friend, that's already a bad asset. So depending on what it is, if it is generating income and increasing in value, it will be a very good asset. And the bad ones is the opposite. They will decrease, they will not generate income, and they will decrease in value. So a boat, for example, if you have a beach and it's your business and you buy one, it will be a good asset because it will be bringing. But if you stay, and again, you buy a boat, for crying out loud, where will you use it? So it will definitely be a car. Smartphone, we saw the iPhone 15. You guys have had the memes around iPhone 15. Oh, it's the same Android. It's the same what? Type-C charger. The lightning charger is off the radar. So because that was a prestigious for the iPhone users, the lightning charger, but if we all have Type-C, so we are equal, even those ones who, now in your money. And so we had a joke, and one day someone has told us, there's the phone and Impuliziganya. Impuliziganya is the hello, Oriwa. The phone is the Cereza. But if you buy the Cereza and it is making for you money, trust me, to be a good asset. I have a colleague of mine who just bought a smartphone, and it's an iPhone, an iPhone, then it fell down and cracked. Before they put everything, it cracked. This is an expense he didn't actually plan for. Repairing that iPhone is as good as buying a new one. So it will be a bad asset for that person if you buy and then you're spending on items. Moving on. This is something that we always hear from our employers talking about. Oh, our people are struggling, the debts are too many, and you bankers are coming, you still want to give them money. Oh, we said we hear you. But one of the key financial freedom is managing your debt successfully than saving. If you can manage your debts, you'll be actually successful even if you don't save. But of course, saving is good, but managing it's very key in your finances. Debt traps us for years and years and years. We struggle. Even as bankers, we keep on, it's me, I call it a vicious circle of debt. Yeah? You get to debt, after 2 months, you still want money. Yeah? Money, you can never stop that evil. Where money came from, I don't know. But for some reason, you need money to live. We've seen many marriages breaking up because money. The first thing you say, why aren't you talking to your wife and husband? Money. Eh? That one is an evil that we can't do anything about it, but if we can just try and manage our finances better and we don't struggle in debt, will be good. So when you're tackling debt, beware of hidden costs. If you're coming to the bank, beware, ask questions, because at that time, you're the king. Before I sign off this, what is the cost? What is this? What is this? And you'll be given even a letter to sign that this is the total cost. Go with your paper. If anything changes without your knowledge, you use that against the people. So beware of hidden costs. There are people who tell you, we are giving you at 10%, but 10% is actually per month. It is suicide, yeah? And then also beware of too much interest. I've mentioned it. There are people who tell you, yeah, you could come and tell you, I'll give you at 20%. You say, the bank is very expensive, but 20% is just annual. If you divide it by 12, then the money lender will come and say, in 2 minutes, I'll give you at 10%, but that is per month. We actually, we supported somebody who was financially going, as in dying financially, because they could not even go to work at all. I mentioned that 25% of our time at work, we are worrying about what? The stressors, yes, and money and debts. So at Stanbic Bank, we say we will give you as low as 15.5% interest. And then also beware of funding debts, beware of funding ones with debts. I am getting married in 2 weeks' time, and I don't have money. I need 100 million to inject in a wedding that's going to last for 4 hours. The decor alone. We did an average wedding, like, shoestring and all that. For an average person would take you like 15 million shillings. But with the same amount of money you can invest in unit trust in 5 years, you will get, how much will you get? 50 million in unit trust in 5 years. They're about 12%, right? Yeah, the unit trust at 12%. Just imagine, do that multiplication and get to say, instead of wedding now, let me invest this 50, maybe the interest that I'll get in 5 years, I can actually use it for my wedding. That is planning for your life, and you'll actually have purpose. Have full visibility of your debts. Yeah, I mentioned that we borrow even from our children. Everywhere someone is calling, you even stop picking calls. Meanwhile, you don't pick calls, you even change the number just because somebody is demanding. Beware of your full debt. So if you have, say, multiple debts, we can actually consolidate you and also ensure that we leave 50% for you to take time. Moving on. Okay, strategies to lower your debts. What do you need to lower your debts? First of all, you need to start tackling your your debt with the highest interest first. Assuming you have a loan with a microfinance lender who's giving you at 72% per year. Tackle that first and clear and know that you don't have that one. Then also pay off credit cards. Imagine if you come to Stanbic Bank and get a credit card, we give you 55 days free interest. Pay off your credit card before the 55 ends, so you don't pay interest. And then we are saying consolidate your debt in one. Just have one debt in one bank, and you know that my focus is here and this is it. Sell some assets for cash, you know. If you have like 2 cars, 3 cars, 10 plots of land and you're choking with the sell some and then liquidate, and then you do what? You pay off some of those debts. Do not add debts on debts. You know, sometimes you consolidate someone and after 2 months, they are still going back to someone else to borrow. So ensure you don't consolidate. Moving on. Savings and investment is going to be taken on by my colleague. I'll just do a few highlights, and then she'll just specifically take you through treasury bills, treasury bonds, and then the unit trusts. Those are very critical, and we start as low as 100,000. Why savings? To achieve our savings help us to achieve our long life, our goals, and also our long-term value creation. It helps you to reach financial independence. You will be financially independent if you have a couple of saving options. All right, we have so we have a quote here from Warren Buffett who says, "Do not save what is left after spending, but save what is left after saving." So in simple terms, do not save what is left after spending, but save what is left after saving. It's what you should spend. Okay, moving on. Reason to invest, to save. There are so many reasons, and everybody of you have their own reasons for saving and also investing. But we'll tell you why we need to do. Saving will enable us to achieve our goals we set for ourselves. For example, achieve financial independence and retire at a certain age. I am told there are some people who are even forced out of their employment because they still feel they want the salary. So if you save early enough, you will actually be financially independent, and you want to actually retire you by yourself without anyone forcing you. It also helps you to get enough money for that rainy day. You know, COVID time, guys. If you had some savings before COVID, I'm sure you must have been happy. They're not very happy, but they must have had some. It was much better than a person who didn't have savings, because all of a sudden it was a lockdown and we could not move, go anywhere, but we needed to eat, we needed to do everything. Okay, start saving early, encouraging your children to save. Our saving solutions, she will just take us through this briefly. We have treasury bills at 11.5. We have treasury bonds at 16.7 interest, and those are securities. We also have the fixed deposits ranging from 4 to 9%. Unit trust at unit trust at the I've moved faster. I've moved faster to a quote by Albert Einstein. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and those who do not, they fear it. So the investment options I've mentioned to all of you will add you a compound interest. For example, if today you have one apple, and every day an apple for the next 10 days, an apple gives birth to an apple. Yeah. What would be that in 10 days? It will be 510 apples, because even the apple they've given birth to will also give birth to another apple. That is what they call compound interest. And Albert said it's the 8th wonder of the world. So we are moving to share legacy. As you're starting your journey, you need to plan to create, to share and leave a legacy with the people you are living with. This basically share and legacy creates peace of mind with generational wealth transferred and using your money. You saw the video in the old gentleman with his family. They were happy. Why? Because he planned for this, for his retirement. Yeah, the children are not discerning him. They are with him. They are even taking grandchildren. But if you retire and you're a burden, you want money all the time, you're calling for money. These children these days we give birth, my friend. Actually, in the near future, we shall be taking care of our adult children. Our parents, when we were growing up, they are like, our children will look after us. Right now, 8 children that were looked after by 2 parents cannot look after 2 parents now. Is that correct? Yeah, we've seen it. We've seen parents living in terrible conditions, but they're in mansions in Kampala. It's very terrible. Yeah. So as we are growing, let's also plan for ourselves. As whenever children are able to also give us, they will give us, but it's not an automatic ticket that they will give us. So we need to ensure that we invest in the future generation, impact the world around us, and that's by sharing and being in charity causes. I think you know the gold medalist, is it Cheptegei Joshua, who has now set up a stadium in Kapchora. They are now, he's now giving back to society. Yeah, he has done his running there. He has won gold. He has money, so he's giving back. So we need to give back to society. Thinking about moving on, I'll briefly talk about plan and protect. Plan and protect is how do you plan wisely and protect yourself and your family and your assets? We've seen people accumulating wealth and there is no insurance. You have a fleet of cars, but you're not insured. When that car gets an accident, you cannot even, at that particular time, you don't have money to repair. So what happens? It will become scrap and they'll start picking the engine. Yeah, someone will come pick the engine, another come and pick the door. It will become scrap. But if you protect your property with insurance, and this insurance cover, we have them at the bank. As Stanbic Bank, we also provide insurance cover for our clients. And the insurance basically covers you for unforeseen events, and also it can help you not erode your wealth. Because if your truck of eggs falls somewhere, I don't know, in Babida, taking them to Kenya. When there was that sag of the eggs, they were taken to Kenya and all that. The truck knocked actually our house home. And the eggs, all of them, they were nowhere to be seen. So the truck driver had to pay the house and also had to come construct the house back, and he has to meet up. So that person was lucky enough that he was insured. So the insurance did everything. So insurance is very critical. I don't know if any of us has an insurance policy in place. By show of hands, who has insurance policy? Which is not for the government. That's very nice. It's very critical that we insure ourselves. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was driving, my car was okay. And because of the rain, industrial area meat packers, there's always rain. When it rains, there's a river. So all of it, yeah, it was a swimming pool. I entered, I'm like, my car is raised, I must pass, blah, blah. My car stopped right in the middle. I had to get people to push me out. They pushed me out of the water. I parked. Now I started calling my mechanic. He's like, I'm far. Everybody was far. I said that it was 7 o'clock. By the time I remembered I have insurance cover, it was 9. They came and picked the car. They toiled it. Imagine, even if I wasn't insured, I would pay them for toiling from there. They toiled the car. They took it. Then they worked on my car. 5 million shillings. They told me the engine, I don't know what happened to it. Because water entered in the engine and it knocked. So insurance is very critical in our lives, and it can help you on those unexpected time expenses that you may have gotten. I talked about a will. Keeping a will is very, very good. And a will is a legal document that explains how and to whom your assets are to be distributed at time of death. Yeah. If a person comes when they were not in that will, they will not be given legally. And the will can be kept safe with not a family member, somebody you trust very, very, very much, because it can also be something else. So basically, what does insurance say? Insurance is protection plus provision over risk. Yeah. We have both short-term insurance, that is for house, motor insurance, household, professional indemnity, property, travel insurance, personal accidents, and all the other risks. Then we have also long-term insurance. We look at life, health, MedProtect. Actually, our MedProtect, we are giving our clients as low as 600,000 per year. You pay your 600,000 a year, and then we give you the insurance for 15 million shillings. Look, even your independent who are above 65 of age, because normal insurance ends on 65. So if you have parents who are 68, 70, you visit Stanbic Bank, they will support you with a MedProtect, and you insure your parents. I know there are so many costs that you get when your parents are sick. You pay highly, and we know when we advance in age, I don't know, I heard about doctors here talking about those sorts of diseases, pressure, they come at that time when you're vulnerable. Yeah, when you're old and all that. So comprehensive insurance will cover your even everything that is in your car. If somebody comes and breaks your car and steals your iPhone or bag, you can quantify it and then report to police, and then insurance will actually pay the liability. I mentioned about the MedProtect, it's here. You can choose either the silver cover is 15 million, and the minimum you pay is 600,000. Gold cover is 1 million. Then platinum cover is 2 million per year, per person. Okay. Moving on. So what are the practical steps we need to go away from here? If you've not understood anything, just know you need to be clear about your financial realities. You know that I earn 2 million and I need to budget with the 2 million. Look for bargains. Yeah. When you're going to buy things, you can go to Chikubo, shopping for children, and buy there. So you reduce on the cost. Talk to your financial advisor. What options are there? Poor resources, say purchasing vehicles, husband and wife, you can pool resources and purchase your one car, and then you use one car as opposed to everybody using their own car. Put on the wastage where there is leak, and then also acknowledge challenges and seek support. Especially when you're heavily indebted, you say, I acknowledge I am heavily indebted. It's coming to terms with yourself. So I'll leave this to you. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down with steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by actions makes your dreams come true. This is by Ray Greg. Mentioned that. Ladies and gentlemen, as I got to an end, I'd like your feedback. We have a QR code on the screen that you can just scan with your smartphone, or if you don't have, we also have a link. You share with us what you need us to support you with. Your work journey has just begun, and we will be with you, we'll move with you as Stanbic Bank to support you on that journey. I remain Namodu Allen from Stanbic Bank. Jovia will just take you through briefly about unit trust and bonds. Jovia.
Thank you, Allen. We want to thank you, and no one else received the hand clap. You have received the hand clap. We'll invite you to our boardroom to give us another dose on financial literacy, because the issues you are raising are real life issues. I want your colleague to take 5 minutes only to take her through what she has to tell us, and then we'll conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Allen, for that presentation. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Bossa Jovia is my name. I do work with SBG Securities, which is a subsidiary of Stanbic Holdings. I think you had, like, in 2018, Stanbic restructured. So now there are 5 companies under Stanbic Holdings, of which we have the first subsidiaries, which is the bank where Allen works. Then we have in SBG, which works in non-investments. Then we have Stanbic Properties. We have FlyHub, Incubator, and yeah, those are the 5 ones actually. So I'm going to talk about unit trust. I don't know how many of us are already investing in unit trust. Anyone? Oh yeah, we have an investor in the house. That's good news. I've been given 5 minutes. I'm going to be so brief, but I have a registration paper moving on. I can send the presentation to you because I don't have any presentation because of time, but I can share it to read at your own time. If you have questions, you respond to that email, we'll get back to you. So if I mention a unit trust, what I mean here, it's a collective investment scheme where we collect money from different investors like you, myself, investment clubs, organizations, churches. So that money is managed by a professional called an investment manager and a unit trust. So once we collected that money, the work is to make sure that your money earns your return on a daily. So you be rest assured that if you invest in a collective investment scheme or a unit trust, you know that your money will be earning you on a daily basis. It's a safe investment. You won't lose your money. And then also another thing is that there is no withholding tax. Most of us here, I know we have maybe side businesses. There is no business that you do where you don't pay taxes. But at least you're rest assured, if you invest in unit trust, you won't be charged any taxes. You will get your money the way you've given it to us. Yeah? And then it's liquid in a way that whenever you want your money, we'll pay you back your money plus the interest you've earned during that period you've invested with us. So it's so flexible. Let me say some of us are parents here. Eh? You're like children were in holiday for only those 3 weeks, your money would have earned you something that just staying there. Earning you nothing. Because remember here it's earning you on a daily. And when you need it, there are no charges, no penalties. You get your money plus interest earned for that period. Then it also gives you a compounding interest. Allen talked about it, a compounding interest, whereby it's interest upon interest. So the interest that you earn also ends up making you more money. And then the market is highly regulated. So you know that you invest in unit trust, you're investing in a highly regulated market, so your investment are in safe environment, and our regulator in this case is the Capital Markets Authority. Then maybe another thing that I would mention in collective investment scheme is that it's a passive investment. I believe most of us here are busy, so you don't have time to go start up something. So at least give us your money and let us manage your money for you while you're here busy working. You know, your money is also earning. We do have a portal whereby you can track your investment on a daily and see how much you earn on a daily. So there's transparency when it comes to unit trust. It's cheap and very affordable. Minimum is only 100,000. I believe there is none of us here that cannot afford 100,000. And after the initial deposit of 100,000, you can do a subsequent top up for as low as 50. So you may say, yes, I have so many responsibilities. I have children, I have rent, relatives, what, but at least pay that 100. By the time you leave work, now your money has grown. Yeah, one by one makes a bundle. Baganda say kamukamugechi. Muganda. So start small. Minimum is only 100,000. And yeah, those are some of the benefits in unit trust. However, there's only one downside that I should say, and that is there is a management fee that we charge, because you may say, okay, you mentioned all the good things, but now where is the catch? The catch is like, we also need to benefit and stay in business. So there is only a management fee of 2% and it's an annual fee. So let me give an example. If you gave us 1 million, yeah, and in 1 million, maybe it has earned you like, let me say 100,000, yeah? Out of that 100,000, in a whole year, we'll only charge you 2,000. So it's that small, you can't even feel it, honestly. Which business do you do that it earns you and they'll only charge you that small? So that's the only downside that I can say, that it's on the unit trust. Then Alan also mentioned the treasury bills and bonds. Now these are public debt where you lend government money either for a shorter period of time or a longer period of time. Treasury bills are short term. We have tenders of 3 months, 6 months, and then a year. So you can lend government money for 3 months, 6 months, and then a year. They'll pay you interest at the end of it. But for the bills, for them, they're discounted. So meaning they'll take less, even annual interest before. Yeah. So it's a discounted debt. Then when we talk about bonds, that is a long-term debt. You're lending government money, like for a longer period of time, 2 years up to 20 years. But now since you're lending government money for a longer period of time, they will not stay with that money for all that period without paying you anything. So every after 6 months, you'll be paid a coupon or interest on your account. Then at the end of it all, you receive the last interest plus the principal that you invested. It's also a safe investment because government cannot default. When, let me say, as the current president leaves, whoever takes on has to do what? Has to pay that debt, so you are safe. Maybe one last thing before I leave, I don't know if you can give me a minute. Yes, I talk about, because we do investments, and one of the investments that I want to close with are shares. I don't know whether you've heard about them, where you invest in listed companies like Meme, Stanbic, the company also sells its shares, Bank of Baroda. Yeah. So here, when you invest, there are 2 ways how you can earn. Number one, dividends. Whenever these companies make profits, they share dividends with you. Meme paid a dividend of 63.8 shillings. Stanbic paid 3.8 shillings. Bank of Baroda is going to pay end of this month 2 shillings. MTN paid yesterday. For those who bought shares, I don't know if there is anyone, they paid yesterday. People received their dividends. So you know, if you're a shareholder, you can be receiving. And then there's what we call capital gains. You buy shares when the price is low. When the price appreciates, you sell your shares. We have a new company that is listing. I don't know whether you heard about it. Bank of Airtel. Airtel is also giving Ugandans an opportunity to own shares, so that you stop being users of Airtel only, but you only own this company, so that you know when they make money, we are also going to benefit, because actually they're going to pay a dividend in November. So if you buy now, you know, you will receive a dividend in November. Yeah, so I hope you've registered. I'm going to send a presentation because there is a lot, but I cannot summarize each and everything now. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to talk to you. May God bless you all.
Thank you, Stanbic Bank. This is just the beginning of the relationship that you have built with Minister of Public Service, and individual officers will be contacting you to sign up and get financial independence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to conclude. We are going to listen to one presentation
an HR expert is going to give us a dose in only 5 minutes on sexual harassment at the workplace. I told you it's a criminal issue somewhere in the corridors, in the offices where we work. We are being harassed by some of our colleagues sexually. So Jessica is going to give us a perspective of the standing orders regarding this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Good afternoon, members. Good afternoon, members. I know we are tired, but I'm just going to take a few minutes. You are aware in 2021, the standing orders were reviewed, and a section on sexual harassment is what I'm going to take you through. You remember when we had our retreat, this came out as a challenge in the ministry. So members, even those that are testing, you need to know this. What is sexual harassment? In the standing orders, you find it under section F5. So sexual harassment to a public officer means that a public officer shall avoid unethical and unbecoming behavior, such as use of rude, abusive, and obscene language, indecent dressing, hard supervision, and sexual suggestion gestures, which constitute sexual harassment and hence violation of human rights. That is what we mean about sexual harassment in the public service. And the public officer shall not subject others or be subjected to conduct of a sexual nature affecting his or her dignity, which is unwell, unreasonable, and offensive to the recipients. So the way you conduct yourselves among your people is very, very important. A sexually suggestive and offensive behavior may manifest itself in such forms. An employee being forced to choose between ceding to sexual demands or losing job benefits. That is sexual blackmail. Verbal and non-verbal sexual offenses, offensive behavior exhibited by colleagues or even customers. Okay? Then a public officer who is subjected to sexual harassment overtures shall report such a case with the adduced evidence where applicable to the Department of Government that is responsible for investigating civil and criminal offenses with a view to obtaining redress. It can be a department in the ministry, it can be the police, it can be the courts of law, so long as you can adduce evidence. And the public officer who has lodged any complaint regarding sexual harassment using the established complaint procedures shall not be duly victimized. So if I report that so and so has been sexually harassing me, I shouldn't be victimized. Remedies for sexual harassment shall be those prescribed under the civil and the criminal law. So members, be aware that remedies are there if you are going through sexual harassment. And as we go on, I have to inform you that even the Civil Service College has now started training in sexual harassment in order to support all our employees who are being affected in this area. Thank you very much. This is what the standing order is talking about, but we shall in future add more
and give you the repercussions, the effects, and how we can go about them. Thank you very much. Nice afternoon.
Thank you, Jessica. This is an ongoing conversation. We need to raise our awareness regarding this issue so that we stamp it out and we have a conducive working environment for both of us, ladies and gentlemen. The Undersecretary is going to close on behalf of the Undersecretary, on behalf of the Permanent Secretary. Please give him 1 minute.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. Thank you, our facilitators from Ministry of Health, from Uganda Commission, and from Stanbic. I want to thank you, colleagues, staff of MOPS, for attending this camp. There is a lot that we have learned out of here in terms of our health and wealth. And I want to believe that we are going out of here better individuals than we came. Equipped health-wise and also equipped wealth-wise. The health journey begins now. And if the wealth journey begins, the wealth journey begins and the health journey begins. So we want to see a health workforce and the wealth workforce at the same time. I want to believe that we have not given much attention to the presentation by Stanbic, understandably, because people are going to address the health issues. But we commit that we shall be able to invite Stanbic to come in our boardroom and give us another dose of presentation on this. Though there were concerns, probably next time when Stanbic is presenting, there were concerns, the video that they gave of the success stories, probably they will need to give a local success story. It appeals more because we have these examples that we are looking at, other than giving us, yes, I know, but the local examples speak a lot. The other one is in terms of the loans, the concern that was being raised is the need for putting on training. It's important that probably take through the person who is coming to get a loan, take him or her through some of the basics of investment, other than just being in a hurry to give the product. And at the end of the day, you hurry to stress the person when the person has defaulted on the loan. Those are the concerns that, people who give loans, when they come, they talk to you very nicely, very softly, and they give you the good part of it. But when you default, the phone calls, and everything, you get more space. But the pre-loan training solves a lot. It may not be a training, but probably a brief and kind of give you some information on the investment products and all that, the portfolios. Like I said, we commit that we shall invite you to come to our boardroom for the training. For Ministry of Health, the partnership is on and on permanently. It's a permanent marriage that we have. Don't get tired of us. Shall continue calling on you to come and provide these products to our staff as we move on the health journey. On that note, on behalf of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, I want to close this event and we call upon staff who have not yet visited the stores. Please go and know your health status. Thank you so much. I want to wish you a blessed weekend.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for gracing the occasion. We want also to announce and remind you that we shall have the aerobic session in the evening. It starts at 4:30. So be reminded, and when the time comes, please converge here, and the instructor will be on hand to take you through. So I wish you a good weekend. Thank you.